So in 2007, I left my job, my 9 to 5 job, to start a freelance gig, basically. And up until then, I was making about $120,000 a year. And that year in 2007, I think I made less than $5,000 total. At that time, I was working with a client that her name's Leslie, and we were making a website for her for a baby clothing website. And at the time, I was using a Yahoo store to make her website. And they didn't have Shopify back then, so I had to do everything from scratch. It took me 9 months. She paid me less than $2,000 to do this website. And I remember one time she was asking me if she could have a magnifying glass function on her photos, so that if you roll over her photo, you can zoom in and kind of see the threads and all of that. So I told her I don't know how to do that, because at the time they didn't have plugins you can just install to do that kind of stuff. Everything had to be made from scratch. So what I did was I just told her no. She looked very disappointed. And after a while, a week before we were about to launch, it kind of reminded me of that time. And I said to myself, maybe I can try to do this. Imagine how happy she'll be if I do this. So I started I stayed up all night trying to look up how to do it. I couldn't figure it out. The next day I did it again. And I basically did that for an entire week. I basically had to learn how to code an entire programming language, JavaScript, in order to figure out how to do this. And at the end, I finally figured it out. But I didn't tell her. I wanted to surprise her, so I didn't tell her. And I just called her and I said, hey, your website's ready to launch, ready to review. So, you want to meet up and we'll go over it together. She said yes. So next day we met up. I pulled up the website in front of her. She started clicking through, and I didn't tell her anything. And about 30 seconds in, she realized that magnifying glass feature was there. And her reaction, what happened then after that, completely shifted the way my entire philosophy on life, of career. It just completely changed everything for me. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Sun Yi. I am the founder and principal of Night Owls, which is a digital branding agency in New York City. We've helped brands go from zero to over $1 billion in revenue over the last 10 years. We work with clients like New York Times bestselling authors, motivational speakers like Gabby Bernstein, Mel Robbins, Jay Shetty, and many, many more. As I saw some of our clients, some big motivational speakers and influencers, I kind of started seeing the real benefit of personal brands. So I've been meaning to build my own personal brand for a while, but I've been pushing it off. And finally this year, April of this year, I kind of said to myself, no better time than now. And I started just putting out content on Instagram. At first, I just started putting out these shitty Zoom videos. But I had fun, right? I had fun making content. I had fun posting content. And 8 months later, I was able to grow that account to over 50,000 followers. And, to kind of give you the possibility of, building an audience through social media and content. 8 months later, I announced this masterclass, and I had over 1,000 people sign up in the first hour. So that's kind of the possibility of what you can do when you're building an audience, right? But the best part for me is when I get a random DM from someone that says, Son, I spent 3 hours last night binging through your content, and this morning I woke up with a whole new outlook on life. Or if somebody says, Son, 3 months ago I had no idea that I would be able to do this. I had no confidence, but now I believe I can do it. And whether it's starting a business or starting a coaching business or whatever that may be, getting these kind of messages, having this kind of conversation is actually the best part for me. It's not even, for me, it's not about the follower. It's not about, being able to get customers and things like that. So in this masterclass, what I want to do is I am going to talk about Instagram strategies, tactics, and things like that. But more importantly, I want to talk about mindset and kind of, what is the mindset shift that we need to have in order to really succeed on Instagram. So I'm going to share my screen here and get started. By the way, I'm going to try to finish this in an hour. I don't know if I'll be able to do it, but I'll do that. And at the end, we'll do a 30-minute Q&A session. Okay. So first, I want to talk about audience. I think, a lot of us, when we go on Instagram, we talk to our customers. So a lot of people create content for customers, whether it's like promotional, talking about your offers or educational content, whatever it is. Most of us are talking to our customers. But the reality is that the customer should only be a small portion of the people that we interact with or talk to. More importantly, what you want to do is talk to your community and your fans. And your community is basically your competitors. So if you're a filmmaker, if you're a film director, your community would be other directors, writers, actors, sound people, these type of people in your industry. And these are the people that you want to connect with and spend the most time engaging with, because these people have access to your customers. So by engaging with them, you're directly getting access to your customers. And then you have your fans. So fans are just the people that love you. They love your content. They're inspired by you, or they're learning from you. And these people might never become customers, but they still indirectly bring you to new customers. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So how do a total stranger go from, like basically one to customer, right? And it's not going to just happen from like A to Z like that. There has to be some steps that needs to happen for this person to become your customers. I'm going to primarily talk about this part, building an audience. First, they have to find you, obviously. And then they have to come to your profile. And once they come to your profile, they have to just make a decision to follow you. And once they follow you, then they can start engaging with your content. And eventually on the back end, you want to sell them through DM, email, through website, sales pages, and eventually convert them. But you never want to sell on the front end. The front end, the part that I'm going to be primarily talking about, is the part where you actually build an audience. You win that trust. And once you've kind of won over that trust, then they'll actually be asking you for your product, for your offer. So do not sell on this part, and I'll go through each one of these steps. So number one, getting found. This is the part that most of you guys probably focus on. So how do people get found? I'm gonna talk about 5 different ways that a total stranger, somebody who don't know you, can find you, right? One is the notification tab. So this is that little tab that comes up when you hit that heart button. Whenever you like, comment, or follow someone, you're gonna show up on their notification feed. And this is one way you're gonna get found from somebody who don't know you, right? And one of the easiest ways to do this, if you don't have a lot of time to spend hours a day engaging, what you can do is you can just follow and unfollow them. I know that sounds like some sort of a bad tactic that people say don't do, but if you don't have that time to spend engaging, this is really all you can do, because until you hit around 5,000 follower mark, you're not going to be able to. We have somebody playing with our. Let me see if I can stop that. Well, I guess I can't. We'll just have to bear with this. So they're not going to be able to find you because Instagram is not going to start showing your content to brand new people until you're at about 5,000 follower mark. So the only way you can really be found is through the notification tab. And the only way to get that is by going out and manually engaging. So what I would recommend is doing the like and comment, like Gary Vee's $80 strategy, which is basically going out to hashtags, finding content in your niche, leaving your 2 cents, reading the content, leaving a little comment, and do that 90 times a day, right? If you don't have time to do 90 times a day, do 10, do 20, do whatever you can, but every day try to do that. If you don't have the time to do that, do the follow and unfollow. But if you do follow and unfollow, what I would recommend is go to the people that are the most like you, your direct competitor that are as close as to what you're doing. Take a look at their followers and start following the people that are active, right? And how you know they're active is by looking at this pink outline around their avatar. This means they've posted a story in the last 24 hours. So we know that they're active. So follow them, 20, 30, however many. Don't do too many. And then, give them some time. Give them like 3 or 4 weeks. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, go into your follower list, go to the oldest one and start unfollowing them. Now, this is not the best strategy, but you will get found. And when people see that little notification that's saying that somebody's following them, they're going to click on it, look at your profile, follow you. And even when you unfollow them, our goal is to provide enough value with content over the course of that 3-4 weeks so that even if you unfollow them, they'll still continue to follow you. So you're using the follow strategy to get found, but you're not using it for them to continue to follow you. At some point, your content has to take over. One of the things that I like to do with engaging like and comment, is I go to the people that are following me and I go through their followers. And I start engaging with those content, because when you engage with them and they come to your profile and they see that somebody that they're following is following me, it's not a complete stranger, but it's somebody it's one step better than a complete stranger. The second way you can get found is through the suggested for you box. So this is the box that comes up when you follow somebody new, and then they'll suggest other accounts similar to it, or when you hit that little arrow. And how you show up in here is by building a relationship with that person, right? So, locate the accounts in your community that are the closest to you, like the type of people that are following them, you want them to follow you, right? And start building a relationship with them. And you don't want to go after somebody like with millions of followers. Reach out to people that have maybe just a little bit more followers than you, maybe 5,000 followers to 50,000 followers, right? And start interacting with them. Start liking, commenting on their posts so you get on their radar. DM them, ask them to do a collaboration, ask them to maybe go on live, feature them on your account, tag them. When you're doing this and there's a lot of interaction going between you and this account, Instagram will start showing, at a certain point, they're going to start showing you under their suggested for you. And this is another way you can get found. Number 3 is hashtags. So in hashtags, this is like kind of a subject on its own, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but it is a great way for smaller accounts to get found. So the biggest mistake that I see people make is using too little hashtags, or using hashtags that are just way too competitive, right? So what you want to do is you want to stick to hashtags that are low in competition, so there's not that many other posts in it. And you can do that by using a tool called flick.tech. And you also want it to be relevant, good content, because what happens is most of the people that are finding you through a hashtag, they're not searching for the hashtag, but there are people that follow that hashtag and you show up on their feed. And when you show up on their feed and they're not interested in your post because maybe it has nothing to do with that hashtag, then it's not gonna do its job. It's not gonna show it to other people in those hashtags. If you want to learn more about hashtags, I would highly recommend checking out Hacking Hashtags by Ava. This is her Instagram account, Creatorials. I learned everything that I use for hashtag from her, so definitely check her out. Fourth way you can get found is through story reshares, when somebody reshares your post on their stories. So to do this, obviously you need good content, because when you have good content, people will share it. But also build relationship with people, right? You share their content first, because once you share their content, then they're gonna see that and they're gonna reciprocate by sharing your content. But more importantly, in order to get shares, you have to have good content, good shareable content. And lastly, the holy grail, the Explorer page. So this is, when you get on the Explorer page, this is when you're really gonna start exploding. And this is when you get that huge reach. In order to get on the Explorer page, you actually do have to make algorithm happy. And the only way to really do that is by posting good content. So I'll go a little bit more into that. But before I do that, I want to talk about how to get them to follow you. Just because you get found and somebody sees your content doesn't mean they're going to automatically follow you. So there's certain things that you can do to get people to actually convert to followers. So one, obviously it's all in the profile page. So your profile page is basically like your sales page. When somebody lands on this page, within just a few seconds, they're gonna make a decision: should I follow this account or not, right? And if you don't give them those reasons, they're just gonna hit that back button, go right out. So all of that work that you did to get the reach doesn't matter if they don't actually follow you. So it all starts with the perfect bio. And the question that you should be asking is, the question that people are going to be asking when they land on your profile is, why should I follow this account, right? And I'll break that down into 4 different questions. Who are you? Why should I care? Why should I listen to you? Who is this Instagram account for? Is it for me? And what's in it for me? What am I going to get out of this when I follow it? And it can be all different reasons, right? It can be like, oh, I'm going to get, this account is going to make me laugh. It's funny. Or this account is going to teach me something every day. Or this account is going to give me something cool that I can share so I can show off to my friends. Whatever that may be. For me, a lot of people that follow me are the people that want the type of content that I create, which is the type of content that make you say, I never thought of it that way. So I have to make sure that somewhere in my profile, it shows that. So let's go into some common mistakes. So this is like, this is a made up bio, obviously, but it's something that I see a lot. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. So something like this, right? CEO of discount, expert at being myself. Yes, it's clever, it's funny, all of that, but nobody gives a shit. Because it doesn't actually help them with anything. This is one of those things that we're putting it on to make ourselves feel good. But somebody who don't know you, when they come to your account and see something like this, they're just gonna ignore it. It doesn't really mean anything to them, unless you're a celebrity or something like that. Next mistake: marketer, storyteller, creator, and pizza lover, right? So the problem with this is that there are millions of marketers out there, there are millions of storytellers out there are millions of creators out there, and there are millions of pizza lovers out there. Why should I follow you, right? You want to try to be more specific. If you're a marketer, what specific part of marketing do you do? I have a friend who's an English teacher, and what she says is, I help non-native English speakers improve their accent. So even within teaching English, it's very specific. You know exactly what you're going to get out of this account that's different from other English teachers. The next problem is, I help personal brands and businesses find their authentic voice in their marketing message. So there's actually a few different problems on here. first starting with I help, I do this, I do that, automatically it makes it all about you. It makes it all about me. So rather than doing that, say, maybe I'll just skip this whole part and say, find your authentic voice in your marketing message or something like that. That makes it about the audience, right? And second is personal brands and businesses, right? If I'm a personal brand, I don't care about what you do for businesses. If I'm a business, I don't care what you do about personal brands. I want specific content or specific advice from people who specializes in people like me. So if I'm a personal brand, and even within business, if I'm a small business, I want to know that this account is for small businesses and not these enterprise giants. And if I'm an enterprise giant employee, I want to know that that content is for me. That's the second problem. The third is find their authentic voice in their marketing message. So most people are not going around saying, oh, I need to find my authentic voice in my marketing message. That's not what they're looking for. What they're looking for is more followers. What they're looking for is more customers. They're looking to, whatever that end result is, that's what they're looking for. Maybe finding your authentic voice in marketing is the way to achieve that, but ultimately that's not what they're looking for. So you have to do that through your content, but maybe not necessarily say it here because it doesn't mean anything to them. And then for call to action, let's chat. So I see a lot of people use this call to action because they want to keep it open, right? But it's actually hurting you because when you don't give specific directions, people don't know what to do. They're like, okay, I don't have time to just chat. What am I going to get out of this, right? So you want the call to actions to be specific. If you're a coach, maybe say something like, let's chat for 15 minutes to see how I can improve you with X or something like that. So now I'll give you a little better example. So this is not my actual profile, but it's something that maybe I could do. So right away, learn how to sell yourself with storytelling. So it's clear right from the start what this account is going to do for you, right? You're going to learn how to sell yourself with storytelling. Second, content that makes you say, I never thought of it that way. Yes, this is kind of clever and things like that. But the reason why I would put something like that is because most people that find my content, I have the type of content that says, that makes you say, I never thought of it that way. So what ends up happening is people come look at my carousels or my videos and they see that message. And my call to action at the last slide is actually, I never thought of it that way. Visit my profile for more mind-blowing cliches. So the whole path is they look at my content, they're like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Okay, visit my profile. I go to the profile and I see more other content like that. And it actually says it in the bio. The chances of that person actually going to following you is greater because they want more content like that, the one they saw. Founder of Night Owls, Forbes Council member. The reason why I do this is because it's the part where I said, why should I care? Why should I listen to you, right? So whatever that authority or credibility you have, if you do, you want to try to put that. If you don't, and if you're starting out, how I would probably do it is say, hey, I'm on a journey to do this, and I'm experimenting with this, and I want to share what I learned with you, or something like that. Then it still gives you a reason, like, who are you? Why should I listen to you? You should listen to me because I'm going to show you all my failures and what I'm doing wrong. And then follow me for daily tips on storytelling. So here, the call to action is follow me, but I didn't just say follow me. I said, follow me for daily tips on storytelling. So I make it very clear. So every day, if you want storytelling tips, follow me. I don't actually have this call to action because I don't post every day, but it's something that I could do. And lastly, does your feed match the bio? Right. So if my bio says, oh, I make content that makes you say, I never thought of it that way, then when they actually scroll down and look through your post, it better make you say, I never thought of it that way. Because otherwise, you're not delivering on your promise, right? Because people are not just going to blindly follow you after looking at a profile. I see a lot of people that says like, oh, I'm an Instagram coach, But then I see their content, they're talking about LinkedIn, they're talking about all these other stuff that has nothing to do with Instagram. Then that becomes like kind of every other account, right? Or I see people talking about, whatever subject that they say they're an expert in, but I see, just random photos or something that's completely unrelated to that. Then you're not really delivering on the promise that says, this is what I told you the account is for. But your feed doesn't say that. So you want to make sure your feed matches the bio. Okay, so now let's go into algorithm. So I don't actually know a lot about algorithm. This is all stuff that I kind of think is what happens based on when I post. And so I want to first tell you that you don't need to know how the algorithm works. You don't need all these tactics. You don't need to analyze your data in order to grow, because I was able to grow without it. And the way I see it, Instagram algorithm is pretty simple. When you post content and a lot of people like it, it's going to show it to more people and it's going to get a higher reach. And then when those people like it, it's going to show it to even more people, and around and around and around. So this is a diagram that kind of shows you how it works, right? So first, if you're following like 1,000 people and you open your feed, you're not seeing content from all those 1,000 people, right? Instagram is choosing which content they're going to show you. So it's the same thing when you post. Not all of your followers are seeing your content. So first, they're going to show it to like a handful of people that are following you. So maybe it'll show it to 20 people, 50 people, whatever that number is. It shows you to a few people first. If those people are reacting to it, they're liking, they're commenting, or they're engaging with it, then it's going to show it to more people, maybe 100 people, 500 people out of your existing followers, right? And then if it sees that, oh yeah, people are liking this post, then they're going to show it to even more people that might not be following you, whether through Explore feed or through hashtags or whatnot, right? And this is when you actually get the big, huge reach. So, but without this, without your existing followers giving you that initial push up front, you're never going to get here. So, which is why your existing followers hold the keys to your new audience. We should stop focusing on how do I get new followers, how do I reach new audience, and just make your existing followers happy. Don't ignore them, right? And you can do this by thinking about, if you have, when I started, I had 150 followers. I just thought about how can I deliver value to these 150 people only? And that's all I was thinking about. And then every time somebody comments, I would literally reply to every comment, reply to every DM, and really, show that I care about them. And by doing that, I think I DM'd every single person that followed me. As soon as somebody followed me, I DM'd them. So I really took care of my existing followers. And doing that is what helps you increase that engagement within your existing followers, which is what helps, what Instagram pushes to new audience. So don't ignore your existing followers. So does content really matter, right? This is such a, content is king. That's such a cliche. Everyone says that, but I think not a lot of people really practice trying to make good content because maybe we don't believe that content really matters. Maybe we don't know what good content is. So I'm going to tell, the short answer here is, hell yes, it does matter. And here's like here's two data, I guess, analytics or whatever to prove that to you. These are two posts that I did within 1 week apart. So I pretty much had the same number of followers, same number of everything, same tactics, same time, same everything, right? The only two difference was the content. And you can see the difference in the stats, right? This one had more than 10 times the reach, probably like 15 times the reach that this post had. And if you look at the follows that this one post got, this one basically got, what is that, 100 times more followers than this post. And the main difference here you see is, so if you look at from home versus from home, so those are my existing followers that are engaging with it and they're looking at it, right? It's not that huge of a difference, but where the big difference comes from is from the Explore feed. So one basically got on Explore and immediately died because the content wasn't good. The other one got on Explore and it took off because the content was good and people were engaging with it. So at the end of the way, yes, content makes a huge difference. So here, like this data, you can kind of see why it makes a difference. So here are the two different posts. So these two insights are from these two posts. So one of the main reasons why I think this one didn't take off is because the cover was just not attractive. Like when most people see, when answers to every question you have, it feels cliche. I don't know what it is. It's kind of confusing. But when you hear something like designers are not artists, that's a little bit controversial. It makes people more curious and it makes people want to swipe to see what's going on. With my existing audience, I think I've gained enough trust with them that even with a bad cover, they'll still swipe through and engage with it, but that just won't work with a brand new audience. So your content is even more important when it comes to new audience. So the big question is, what is good content, right? Everyone says good content, but nobody really defines what good content is. So maybe the good content is subjective, depending on who the audience is and all of that. But I think there are some objective things that I found personally that makes the content good. It goes viral or people tend to like it, right? So have you guys ever gone to a comedy show, hear a joke, and say, that's true, I do that. Or that's true, I never thought of it like that. Anyone? Just either raise your hand or maybe put it on the chat, yes, or something like that. Yeah, so that's the reason why that happens in comedy shows is yes. A lot of people are saying yes, is because those jokes are relatable. Like, oh yeah, I've been in that situation, but it's original at the same time. It's not relatable and cliche that everyone else is saying. It's relatable but original. Those jokes have a beginning, middle, and an end. And they all have an unexpected turn, right? The punchline is, usually they'll pause before the punchline because you don't expect that punchline. And they're short and simple, easy to understand. I'm gonna go through each one of these. So first, relatable but original. So there are a few ways that you can do this, and I'll go through those couple of ways. But what usually ends up happening, so I'll show you first of all. So if you look at a scale of cliche versus original, you can almost directly tie it to safe versus vulnerable. And there's a middle ground where it crosses your comfort zone, right? A lot of times when I say something, for example, I did a post a while back about public speaking, why public speaking is so hard and all of that, right? And I could have talked about going on stage and just forgetting what I'm going to say, or going on stage and like everything's blurry, I just black out. Or I can talk about the fear of public speaking is greater than the fear of death, right? All of those things are safe because I know if I say it, people are going to agree with it. Like a lot of people have been there. So it's relatable. I know it's relatable, but it's safe because I know everyone's been there. Now, when you keep digging in, what happens when you get into the vulnerable zone is these are the stuff where you don't know if other people have been there or not. So on that post, what I talked about was when I was growing up and we have to go around the class and introduce ourselves. As it gets closer and closer to my turn, I would keep changing my mind. It's like, oh, I'm going to say this. I'm going to impress them by saying this, but I don't want to sound stupid. And then every time somebody says something, I would change my mind. I was like, oh, I should say this instead. And by the time it gets to me, I'm just like, now I forgot what I was going to say. I say something. And then right afterwards, I regret what I was like, oh, I should have said this or I should have said that. So I told a story that talks about this entire process. And when I told that story, I was a little bit afraid, like, is anyone going to get this? Like, are they going to be like, the fuck you talking about, son? You're the only one. Like, that never happens to me, right? And that's what makes it vulnerable. That's what makes it scary. But when you actually talk about these type of experiences from your heart, most people, when it's the truth and it's embarrassing, most people are going to resonate with it. Because what I found is that, like that movie, The Interview, where Dave Franco says, like, we're all same, but different, but still the same. Like, that's exactly how what I saw humans are. At the end of the day, we're not that different from each other. And I found out that whenever I share those kind of experiences, there are plenty of people out there that had similar experiences. Secondly, another thing you can do is basically throw out your first few ideas. So same thing, right? When I talk about public speaking, I was like, oh, like the fear of public speaking being greater than death and all of those ideas. The first few ideas that comes to your head is going to be garbage. It's going to be cliche. It's going to be the ones that are obvious that everyone comes up with. But then when you write it down or you think of it, you throw it out, you do another one, you throw it out, you throw it out, you do this, and then you get to your 4th, 5th, 10th, 20th, 40th idea. That's when the good stuff is going to start coming out. That's when you're actually putting in the thought. You're digging in deep, you're digging into your past, and you're trying to figure out what situations in my life where I did that, right? Or even within the same situation, like me telling the story of me sitting in the classroom, I can start going into the details of like, oh, he said this, so now I can't say anymore because I have to be original. So I changed my mind on what I'm going to say. Things like those kind of detail, when you go into those detail, that's when things get original. So this is obviously time consuming in the beginning, but when you do it enough, it gets easier and it becomes kind of like second nature, actually. The second part is beginning, middle, and an end. So every good story, every good piece of content should have a structure, beginning, middle, and an end. So a lot of people think that when they tell a story, a lot of people tell a narrative and they think it's a story. But the difference is a narrative is just what happened. I woke up this morning, I ate breakfast, I did this, and I went to the gym, and so it's just what happened, right? A story are the specific parts of that where there's ups and downs in emotion. And then at the end, there's a lesson to be learned, or there's some ending there that sums up the whole point of the story, right? So if you read a book by Robert McKee, it's called Story. That's kind of when I first started learning about storytelling. Every story breaks down into these 3 parts: setup, conflict, and resolution. So when I tell a personal story, a lot of times there's going to be a setup. So one of the stories that I tell is I used to pretend all the time. I used to pretend like my boss's jokes were funny, even though it wasn't. I used to pretend like I hate a movie which is my favorite movie, just because everyone else hated it. I'll pretend like I have money when I don't. And then until one day in my company, we ran out of money. We had a cash flow problem, so we had to take on more work. So I was working around the clock, and I was missing deadlines, and all of my clients were emailing me. And every morning I would wake up anxious to check my email because it's a client complaining. And I couldn't tell the client that, right? I had to pretend like everything was fine, everything was under control, until one day I decided to just tell the truth. I woke up, client called me. I said, to be honest, we had to take on more work because we have a cash flow problem, and that's why your project is delayed. But if you give me more time, I'll make sure we deliver a quality product. And at that point, he said, I thought he was going to fire me, but he actually said, son, like, thank you so much for telling me that. Now I know I can trust you. And he actually ended up giving us like a $5,000 bonus to make sure we don't go out of business. So during that was the conflict. During that time, I learned that in business, not just in personal life, but in business, how important authenticity, how important honesty is in business, right? So I try to be as honest as possible from that point on. So that story that I just told you is not just a narrative of what happened here. It has a clear structure. It has a setup, how I was, the before conflict, what happened, the situation that happened, and turning point, and then resolution. What did I learn from that, right? But you can also do this from educational content. So for example, a lot of the carousels that I do don't have an actual personal story. It's just me telling them a new idea, right? So how you do that here is your setup then is the pre-existing belief, the popular belief. Your conflict is this new belief. Everyone thinks it's this, but in reality, it's actually like this. And then give them some examples of why to validate that reality. And the resolution is like, that's why you should do this. Why? So you can still have a story structure even if it's not an actual personal story. And I'll show you an example of that a little bit later. Number 3 was the unexpected turn, right? This is something unexpected has to happen in order for it to be an interesting story. So one of the carousels I did was, the cover was called Don't Care About Money and Fame. So I start the carousel off by saying, people say they don't want to be rich and famous. They just want to help others like these guys. So people immediately go in thinking the setup is like, oh, yeah, I just want to help people. And that's why I'm doing this work, right? And then the unexpected turn is this, right? So I list all these people that are very impactful and helping others, but I also show their net worth and their following. And then, so that's the unexpected turn / the conflict. And then with examples, like I said. And then there has to be a punchline, the resolution. Stop saying you don't care about money and fame. It gives you resource and attention to help others. So you close it up with so you can also still tell a story, even if it's not a personal story, using the same setup, conflict, and resolution. Short and simple. So I don't know if you can relate to this, but whenever I start writing a story, I just go off on a tangent. Like, oh, I also need to talk about this. I also need to, like, this masterclass is actually a perfect example. I started out very simple, and then I kept adding on and adding on. So one of the things that you want to do is you want to narrow down the topic, especially on Instagram, to one simple topic. So if there's subtopics within your topic, ignore all of that. Anything that doesn't add to that one very simple point, take it all out and put it as a separate post, right? And don't be afraid to remove that. In the beginning, I used to always add on. A lot of times when I add on stuff, it's really very for selfish reasons. I'm like, oh, I want to say this because it's going to make me look smarter. Or I want to say this to name drop or whatever it is, but it doesn't actually support the story. Then I'm not afraid to remove it now. On Instagram, you don't want to teach the how, but the why. Because, the how, like this is a perfect example of a how. This is a long format. If you have a podcast, a masterclass like this, or you're on YouTube, you can actually give them the tutorial step-by-step instructions and you can teach that how, because they're in the right mindset to do that, right? Or when you're reading a book or something like that. But on Instagram, people have very, very short attention span. So what you want to do is talk about the why, because there's that one saying where you say if your why is great enough, you can bear any house. They can go out and search Google, YouTube. They can find out all of that if you inspire them by letting them know the why. So here's an example of that post, right? So A lot of people say, how-to manual on blueprint, proven formula, step-by-step guide. Like a lot of people try to sell these hows, like the instructions or, techniques or whatnot. But then I go into talking about our whole lives we've been told to make our beds, but most of us didn't. Until this guy came along and everyone listened. And then in that same post, I talk about what the reason why is he talks about the why. He says, that's because if you make your bed in the morning, that gives you a win, so that sense of accomplishment makes you complete the next goal and next goal and next goal and so on. And that's the reason why you should make your bed. And now that I know the why and the why resonates with me, now I'm more likely to do it. So people don't care about what works until they know why it works. So which is why you want to try to teach the why. Okay, I'm going to try to go a little bit faster because we're running out of time. Some practical tips. One, start with the punchline and work backwards. So I always try to start with my what is my end message? What is the one lesson that I want them to take away? And I work backwards. Then it's easier for me to take stuff out and see what needs to go in there to make the story fit. 2, remove unnecessary parts, but be specific in the necessary parts. So if you're telling a whole narrative, there's a lot of part of that narrative that can be removed. It doesn't actually serve the story, so you want to remove those. But in the specific parts that are necessary, you want to be specific. So for example, I did a post where I say, if you tell a story like this, right? Oh, I used to be broke. I used to be so bad at managing money, blah, 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 blah. And then I hit rock bottom, right? So that's like a typical story that people tell. But that's a very generic way to tell a story using adjectives. And people don't really connect with that. But if you be specific, you say, I used to treat my friends to dinner on paydays and 2 weeks later eat ramen noodles until I'm waiting for my next paycheck. When you say it like that, then now it draws a picture of what broke actually looks like. It draws a picture of what not being able to manage your money looks like. So you want to be specific in those parts to draw that picture. Look for that's interesting moments, not light bulb moments. So we think that amazing story is like these like traumatic event that we had to go to, like hitting this rock bottom moment, and then we all have to have that Tony Robbins story. But that's actually not true. People are going to relate more if you think of that. That's an interesting moment, and there's a lot of these moments in your life if you really think about it. I don't know if you guys know this, but the movie Superbad is actually the highest grossing high school movie of all time. And the reason why that is because when you look at most high school movies like Mean Girls or something like that, there's like a clear high school prom queen, right? The popular kid, right? The captain of the football team. And then there's the geek that's getting locked in the locker room, right? So there's like polarity in those two characters usually in most fairy tale-ish high school movies. But when you look at Superbad, the two main characters are neither popular or kind of nerds, right? They're kind of somewhere in between. And the truth is 99% of us were somewhere in the middle. We were not the high school, we were not the prom queen, not the prom king, but we were also not the guy that's getting locked up in the locker room. So when you actually tell stories that really happened to you, those little details, that's when most people are going to resonate with it. Lastly, practice saying, for example. So when I started my company and I started having these meetings, I would talk about something or give advice or teach something or whatever it is. And at the end, I would always say, any questions? And nobody ever raises their hand. Nobody raises their hand, even though they do have questions, right? And then later on, I found out that they actually didn't understand this part and whatnot. So, and it's because like people don't want to look foolish in front of other people. Like they don't want to be the only one with questions. So they're not going to do that. So what I started doing is I started saying, for example. So, hey, this is, I will explain something. For example, and then I'll give them a an analogy or something like that happened in my own life or something like that. And I'm sure you guys have caught it like throughout this whole class I've done it. And the reason why I do that is because every time I do that afterwards, so I'll say, any questions? Oh, no. And then I'll give them an example. And right afterwards, they'll be like, oh, I get it now. So that's why I got in the habit of doing that. And after a few years of doing that, it just became so easy. And those examples are the stories. And those are those stories are going to be the ones that actually turns into good content. And also, every day as I'm living life and as I'm experiencing life, what ends up happening is I'll notice something that happened today or yesterday or something, and I'll be like, oh, that's interesting. That's a story that's a lot like this other situation. So you start noticing it in real time, and you're going to start kind of crafting that story as you live life. All right, I'll go quickly through the content types. So this is my favorite type of content, carousels. I just love something about the fact that you can't see what's on the next slide until the user makes that decision to swipe, right? So it gives the user some sort of a control, so they feel like they're bought in. And I love that mystery of, I don't know, keeping them curious on what the next slide is going to be. Whereas in video, people are just mindlessly watching, it just happens and it happens, right? Here, I got them bought in. I was like, hey, are you curious? You want to see what happens next? Swipe. And now they have to take the action of swiping before they see the answer. And there's something about that I love, getting their kind of buy-in. I think it's a great educational tool. And in carousels, copy is actually the most important. A lot of people think it's about the graphics. People ask me like, oh, I love your design and things like that. But my carousels that has no design in it and it's just copy do just as well as the ones that have design on it. 2 is videos. So if you do videos, I would highly recommend doing either Reels or IGTV. Reels obviously under 30 seconds, IGTV from 1 to 3 minutes, because I noticed that IGTV gets a higher reach than those regular 60-second videos. Because I think those videos you can't skip or you can't rewind, so people don't like them as much as IGTV videos. Videos don't get that huge of engagement or reach for me because they're usually just talking heads. But it does build relationship with my existing audience. So it's still very helpful in that sense. It's not about, you might not use video to get that huge new following, but you can build stronger relationship with your existing audience. And what I do is a lot of times I just repurpose my Zoom recordings. And I have an IG highlight on my profile that shows you how to do that. Because when you're in a Zoom meeting, you're actually talking to someone, you're being more meaningful, more impactful, more natural. I found that for most people, those are actually the best type of video content. Singular captions. Here, I don't do a lot of these, but caption is really important. If I do a single post, I'll put all the value in the story in the caption. I've seen people use this single post to ask questions, right? Like ask questions like, hey, what do you think of this? Or this, which one you like better? And people love to, also like get involved in that conversation. So by asking questions, it really gets them to engage. So on set annotation to off. All right, let me see if I can do that. There you go. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Other content types are IG stories, IG live, highlights. Highlights, I think, is great for conversion on the profile. So it gives you like a quick overview of what you're all about. IG stories and IG live also, they don't get huge reach, but I use them to build relationship with my existing audience. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the real secret to growth. So here, story time. So about 3 months ago, or 3 months into my Instagram journey, I started getting burnt out. So in the beginning, I loved making content. When I had 150 followers, I would just, I would make content because I actually enjoyed making content, right? I didn't care about how many people I reach or anything like that. But one day I used to get like one follower a day, maybe. And one day I got 50 followers, 50 new followers in one day. And ever since then, I've been trying to like replicate that. Like, what did I do? What time can I post? What can I do to replicate that? And from that point on, the next few months have been kind of like miserable until a point when, I basically posted every day. And then this one time I was 3 months into my Instagram journey, I was visiting a friend in Texas, and I just stopped posting. And for the first 2-3 days, I was kind of anxious. I'm like, algorithm's gonna hate me. I'm gonna lose followers. All of this. But by like day 4, I pretty much didn't care anymore. I was like, oh, fuck it, And after a few days, I started itching like to make content again. But not because I'm a slave to the algorithm, but because I actually wanted to make content. I wanted to go back to the time when I was actually making content, DMing with people, really connecting with people. I missed that. So I started making content. And during that time, I had 3 major mindset shifts. And that really made me take off. And I'm going to share some of them with you. So those 3 mindset shifts are, so here to kind of give you an idea, this is the moment when I was kind of at a plateau. I was burning out. This is my trip to Texas. And this is what happens immediately following after that. And it's all, for me, I think it's all thanks to these mindset shifts. So, and they're related to the mistakes that I was making. So mistake number 3 is trying to win like them. So when I first started, I wanted to make like these motivational, inspirational videos like Gary Vee. And I saw people doing carousels, and I saw they were doing a certain things. They were adding their call to action at the end. They were adding their profile, these arrows that telling people to share and follow. So when I saw all of them, I was basically trying to reverse engineer what works and try to make it happen by doing that, rather than actually caring about the content, right? I was just trying to reverse engineer. And what happens is you won't win at their game. You have to do you. Everyone has a superpower. For me, it's my ability to just be honest and tell the truth, even if it hurts that person's feeling. And also my ability to make people say, I never thought of it that way. So I had to double down on what are my strengths. Like for my wife, for example, if somebody has a bad day, or somebody breaks up with them, they're gonna come to me if they want to know why that happened. If they want the truth on why that really happened, then they're gonna come to me. But if they just want to be comforted, if they just want somebody to say, everything's gonna be okay, you're perfect, his loss or her loss, then they're gonna go to my wife. So everyone has a different strength. So we need to figure out what that strength is and basically show it in content, just like we do for people around it. Giving up. So when I started my company, there was a period of time, a year into it, where me and my wife were basically living out of the office, sleeping on an air mattress, going to take showers at New York Sports Club in the morning, and renting out our apartment on Airbnb just so that we can use that money to pay for one of our employees. And we borrow money from our family. This is like the time when, this was about a year into it. This is like what Seth Godin refers to as the dip. And everyone goes through that. And it is darkest before dawn, right? Darkest before dawn, yes. So what happens is I see so many people, they get into that point and they just give up. So when I was in Texas going through that like burnout, that was one of those moments for me. I could have just easily gave up there and just forget it. But what happens is it doesn't matter, because I see people that are better than me, better content creators, better designers, better at business, whatever it is. But most of them I see, they just give up. And that's where I see so many people fail. But if you don't give up, quantity leads to quality. So if you keep posting every day, eventually you're going to get there. And the number one mistakes I was making was that it was all about me, right? It was all about me. So yeah, I'm going to go back to the story that I was telling before. So throughout my entire life, whether I was in school or after school getting a job, people always say, son, like, don't work too hard, right? They're not, if you finish that, they're just going to give you more work, right? Or just don't do more than what they're paying you for. What's in it for me is the kind of the idea that's going around. And every company that I've worked in, people have always said that. And I would always respond by saying, like, no, like I'm not doing it because I want them to pay me more or something like that. I'm doing it because I actually want to. I enjoy it, right? And even when I started my company freelancing, it was the same thing. I always did more than what the client paid me for. And same thing, people always say, son, like, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't go overboard like that. You should, you're being stupid, right? But I would always reply the same thing. So that brings me back to December of 2007. So we sat in front of the computer. Leslie was clicking through, and she noticed the magnifying zoom function on her website. And she was like, what? I don't get it. Like, she was like, well, I thought you couldn't do this, right? But then immediately after, she literally started tearing up. And she was so grateful. She gave me a huge hug. And she pretty much told me that, like, it's the service that I provided for her was like way over and beyond, right? A week later, I get a call from Leslie, and she says, son, like, come downstairs. So I'm like, what? So I go over to my window, I look down, and I see her like waving at me next to her car. So I go downstairs, and she has her trunk open. She was there with her husband, John. And inside the trunk was a Fender Strat, an electric guitar with an amp, brand new guitar and amp. And she's like, Merry Christmas. So I was like, what? And I remember, like, me and John, we used to, like, when I was over at her house, we would play guitar, and I was telling him that I really want to play electric guitar, but I've never played before. So they decided to buy me one for Christmas. And I was, at that point, like, I almost cried, right? And then she goes, hey, by the way, John, my husband, John happens to be a partner at a big architecture firm in New York. She said, oh, his company is looking to do a website, and they want to hire you. And then literally a week later after that, I got a call from another company that wanted to hire me because of the website that they saw me do with the magnifying glass, and because I learned how to do that in JavaScript. So that just goes to show you, and this is not an isolated incident, but throughout my entire life, this has happened over and over and over again. Every time I did something for someone else, it always came back in tenfold. So the best way to receive is to actually give. And I want you to think of making content that way too. Instead of making content thinking, oh, I need to make content so I can grow audience, so I can sell them, I can get them into this opt-in, I can sell them this product. Instead of thinking of it like that, think of it as, don't think of it as a means to an end, something you have to do. Think of the content, think of the helping, think of the giving as the end. Then what will happen is, I guarantee you, the results, the business, the followers, all of this will automatically come. Thank you. We'll go into questions now. If anyone has a question, can you just raise your hand? Cindy Odie.
Oh no, that was from earlier when I was agreeing with you.
Okay.
But since you called on me, I know you talk about the carousels and how successful those have been for you, and I follow those and love those as well. And like you were saying, traditionally, especially with Instagram, people talk a lot about the images being the most important thing. And would you say that that carousel and that whole concept can really apply just to any business?
I think so. Like what I would do is probably, even if I don't use images or anything like that, I would use the storytelling structure, whether you're teaching something or you're trying to get them to relate, but just simplify it, put it in 10 slides. I've seen it done, people in other industries. So I would imagine.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Rupan, you wanna unmute? Hello? Hello? Hi.
Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, actually, I have struggling with how to find a niche to start with. I'm basically a digital marketing freelancer. How can I find a niche in digital marketing to start posting contents? Yeah, that's
Within
my question.
digital marketing?
Yeah.
What?
Like yeah.
So what area of digital marketing do you work in?
Social media marketing. Specifically in LinkedIn and Facebook.
Yeah, then I would probably just create content around LinkedIn and Facebook, and that's it, and nothing else.
Okay.
Because so many people try to do everything. So if you just specialize in Facebook and LinkedIn,
okay.
That's probably better for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Next we have Bobby.
Hey, Sun. Thanks so much. That was such a great presentation. I had a question earlier on, actually, when you were recommending, or I don't know if you were recommending, but when you were saying that the best way to get noticed if you have a small number of followers is to do the follow, unfollow, that sort of thing. Is that a strategy that you actually used, or were you saying that just to, complete the whole spectrum of strategies?
So I didn't personally use it myself.
Okay.
But that's because I used to spend 2 hours a day in the beginning. I think up until I hit like 4,000 or 5,000 followers, I literally spent 2 hours a day reaching out to new accounts and engaging with them, right?
Okay.
So if you can do that, that's a much better way to do it.
Perfect.
But if you only have 10 minutes to spend a day, then, like doing the unfollow, if you don't do the follow unfollow, because I used to always be like, oh, my content is so good, I'm posting every day, how come like nobody knows me? And it doesn't matter how good your content is, your Instagram's just not going to show it to anyone until you
Awesome.
until
Thank you.
start reaching out. Yeah. Next, Amit, do you want to unmute?
Hey man, thank you so much. It was really, really great. I enjoyed every moment. Can you hear me well though?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, great. So my question is, I tried uploading content that I drawed with my hand, like was handwritten, and my handwriting is okay. It's not like the best, but it's content that I didn't see anywhere else. And I got a little bit of people saying, like, especially close friends, saying that it doesn't look so good. But I'm trying to think, like, infographics look good, but everybody's using them. So maybe I was thinking about trying to do something a little bit different. Do you think that would be a good idea?
I think it's a good idea because I really, really don't think that unless you're a designer, I don't think it needs to look good, because there's this guy that I know on Instagram. If you DM me, I'll send you his. He's a YouTuber and he's pretty big. I think he has 100 or 200,000 followers on Instagram, and all of his content is just like him on a whiteboard like of written stuff that different people holding it, and every slide is just different words on a whiteboard. And because the content is good, he gets crazy engagement. Like he gets, like his posts get like 1,000 to 2,000 comments. So yeah, I don't think it matters at all if the actual content, the writing is good. I don't think it matters whether it's pretty or not.
Okay, thank you so much, son. It was
You're
great.
very welcome. Next, Moses.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. So I wanted to ask, because I manage a page, I manage an account of a religious organization.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to ask the strategies that you gave. I know I came a little bit late, but I'm so sorry about that. But I was able to get a lot of things. So the strategies that you gave, does it work for a personal account, account, and an account of a religious organization? What special or what kind of strategies would you give, or different strategies would you give for a religious organization? Thank you.
That's a great question. I wouldn't really know because I don't follow any religious organization. But when I look at like other kind of nonprofit organizations, what I see them do that works well is when they tell stories of people in the community, right? Whether it's like, struggles they're going through, or how, whatever, if this particular thing has helped them, maybe if this this church or this community or this religion has helped them in some ways, like kind of telling that story from different members of the community, right? Something like that I think can work.
Okay. Wow.
Does that help?
Thanks. Yeah, it does. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Moses. Next, Melanie, you wanna unmute?
Hey, Sam. Thanks
Hi,
for this.
Melanie.
It's been amazing. Okay, so a question about what you talked about when you said, okay, you have to give the why, not the how. Basically, I'm having problems with my content because a lot of people tell me you give too much, but that's what my content is supposed to be, because my audience is people that do not know anything about social media or Instagram, like literally just small businesses that are starting and don't even know how to like post a video, in vertical format instead of square, for example. So a lot of my content is like how to do this, how to do this in your stories or things like that. But then later, my plan, so I'm barely I'm under the 1,000 followers, so I'm just starting. I'm trying to build my audience, and then later my goal is to have like a coaching program.
Mm-hmm.
So am I giving away too much by giving the how to do it, and how do I change it, later in the game when I really want to offer the coaching program?
So I'm just gonna tell you like how I would do it. So everything that I talked about in this masterclass and everything that I talk about in general, there's I don't think there's one right way to do it, right? And I'm just talking about the way that I did it or how I would do it. So I give everything away, actually. And the reason why I do that is because the reason why people need coaching program is not because they're missing the information. It's not because they're missing the knowledge. It's not some, like, for example, if somebody wants to lose weight or get a six-pack, it's not because they don't know how to make that happen. It's because they just don't have the motivation, the drive, or whatever mindset, whatever it is there's something missing that's keeping them from doing that. And I see the same thing on Instagram, right? The reason why people are not succeeding on Instagram is not because they don't know the strategies. Like, I don't use any strategy, but it's because they try a few times, it doesn't work, and they give up, or maybe they're afraid of what other people are thinking of that. They feel like they're not improving, or whatever that is. There's some mindset thing that's happening that you can coach them through. So I see coaches as not somebody who teaches knowledge, but somebody who keeps that person accountable. If I hire a coach, I'm really bad at telling myself what I'm doing wrong, because I'm too soft on myself, I guess, or whatever. So, but if I have an accountability coach or something like that, that person is going to point that out. It's like, son, you're not doing the things that you said you're going to do. And that's the real value of a coach, in my opinion. So yeah, that's how I would do it. I would just give everything, because by giving everything, that's how you're going to attract the audience that wants to be coached by you.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Emilia? Oh, I think I missed someone.
Hi. Okay.
Go ahead, Emilia.
Okay. Hi. We own a yoga studio and we migrated 100% online since the pandemic. And I was curious to see how we can find the ideal people to connect with, let's say on Instagram, or how we would do that. And then also turn those people that engage with us into, let's say, buying customers, or people that come and try our yoga classes. On Saturday, ever since we started, we had a free yoga class just as a way to give back. And it was very nice because it would be our fullest class when we had a physical location, but now online, it doesn't work the same way.
So can I ask you because I think every yoga studio, yoga teachers or yoga studios that I've been to, they all have different strengths. Mm-hmm. So can you tell me, for your yoga studio, what is the main reason why people come to you guys, your yoga studio? Like, what is differentiator? Yeah.
We have a modern and open approach. Here in Romania, there's still a lot of traditional way and maybe old school looking at things. So we try to be very modern and up to date and easygoing, nothing to push your people, or not trying to, I don't know, make them have some
it's very inviting.
or Mm-hmm. Yes.
So yeah, I mean, whatever is working for you in real life, I would try to bring that online, right? So when if you do want to reach out to more people, just like I said before, go engage with whether because you're your online studio, so you can like engage with anyone. So either go to other yoga teachers or people that that you want to reach, and start engaging with them, right? Comment, DM them, start a conversation, and just whatever the feeling that you're providing there. Because I have some friends that are yoga teachers who, some people are just like so awesome because they're like so welcoming. It's their energy or whatever that is. There's some other yoga teachers that are great because they're just like no BS. They they make you work, or
Yes.
So every teacher is different, I think, and the reason why people go to them is for that reason. So somehow you have to show that through your content. Maybe like one of the things that I always say to my friend is, when she teaches a yoga class, she's so powerful, like the way she words things, the way she gives she talks about the poses and things like that. So I always say, just record that Zoom session and just take 60 seconds of it and post it on YouTube, because people love that, or post it on Instagram because people love that. So something like that in terms of content. And then when you reach out to people, when you engage, just like I said in the class, don't think of it as like, how can I get them in my studio and blah, blah, blah. Just put all of your energy on, what can I do to give this value that I have that is going to help people to that person? What can I do to get them to understand it? What can I do to give it to them? And the rest will automatically happen, them coming and taking your class and things like that. that will automatically happen.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Okay, I missed Ali. I think I skipped you. Do you wanna?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay,
Can hear you.
so great session. My question was, how do you come up with and then vet your content ideas to know that
You got cut off there.
I run, and so I tend to somehow more like education content, and so I can get stuck in the how and the why. So, what's your process in sort of coming up with a content idea and vetting it for whether or not you think it's good?
Yeah, so I get most of my content ideas from conversations that I have. So, I would jump on a Zoom call with someone or with a client or maybe a coaching call or whatever, even just having a conversation with my friend. When I have a conversation, and I'm sure this happens to a lot of people, during that conversation, there are just moments it's like, oh, that I should probably talk about that in my content. That's something that I should probably, it happens to me a lot when I talk to clients. And it's because a lot of times when I have conversation with people, there's something that that person is struggling with. A lot of other people are also struggling with. So I try to translate that into a why. And yeah, in terms of the why, it's exactly like how I said in the class. Once I know the why, like why they need to change this mindset, or once I know that why they need to learn this or something like that, then because that's the simple part, right? Like that's the cliche part. The cliche is that yes, you have to be consistent. Oh, yes, you have to make good content, or yes, you have to care about other people. Yes, you have to give value. Those are the cliches. But how you turn it into not cliche is by giving examples or putting it into analogies. So think about examples that everyone can relate to that'll fit into that cliche. Does that help?
Okay, yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. Milena?
Hey,
Melina?
San. Thank you so much. I really
Hi.
appreciate the content you provide. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Yeah, I can hear you well.
Awesome. I've tried to actually engage with you on Instagram and we haven't been able to connect. So I know you're a busy guy, but I appreciate the content.
Yeah, thank you.
And so I love the story that you shared as to how you hustled your way into building your Instagram account. And I actually want to invite to feature you in an event I'm doing for top entrepreneurs like yourself, and it's World Unhustle Day. And I can send you a message later on to give you some more details. But I just wanted to say thank you for the class and for everything that you do, and see if you want to get involved.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, send me a DM, and then I don't know, maybe if you already did. But yeah, let's connect. I sometimes I'm late in DMs, but I do reply to everyone.
No worries, you're busy. I'll follow up with you, but thanks for everything you do. And this was very inspirational and educational. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Let's do a couple more. We have about 5 minutes. Okay. Hard deck. Are you there?
Hey, yeah, Hardik, yeah.
Hard deck.
So yeah, so I was like, I had a question that, how do you like engage with other people, right? So like, how do you know how much to engage, or like when to stop engaging when you're not getting replies, or and like how exactly do you engage personally to get like the desired outcome?
So yeah, to be completely honest, with new content, I engage with people that just show up on my feed and things like that. If I like the content, I don't overthink it. But when I first started, I used to spend like 2 hours a day engaging with people. Yeah, I didn't overthink it. I just go to hashtag, I just go to somebody that I follow, and if I like their content, I'll just leave a comment, and I wouldn't overthink it, right? I don't keep track of who am I engaging with, things like that. But I do engage consistently with people that I want to build relationships with, right? So remember in the beginning when I said your community, the ones that you want to build relationship with because you want to, whether you want to show up and they're suggested for you or you want to, because what happens is if you're not in the community, if you're like a filmmaker, for example, right? And you're not in that filmmaking community, it's going to be very, very hard for you to, work in that industry. Like people have to know you, at least the people in the industry have to know you. But once the people in the industry knows you, then the access to the actual audience is very easy from there. So once you've identified, so if you're a marketer, right, you have to identify other marketers that you want to connect with, and you have to build a relationship with them. So with those people, I would consistently engage. I would consistently DM and things like that, and actually build a relationship. But for the end audience, I like, comment, share posts that I like, and I don't overthink it.
Okay. Also, can we get the presentation after this, like the PPT?
Yeah, I'm gonna post this video on
okay, sure.
on my YouTube replay for a week, so you guys can watch it there.
Sure, yeah. Thanks.
Okay, next, Mumtaz, you there?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, San. I am in Singapore and it's 3:30 right now in the morning here.
Oh, wow.
We exchanged email earlier today or yesterday it was. Anyway, my question to you is, well, thanks for the great presentation. It was really awesome. I think it was worth the night out.
Thank you.
So
You're a night out.
Yeah, mine, exactly. So my question to you is, I own a product company, a product brand. And what is your advice on what sort of storytelling a product brand should do and what kind of content should product brands create?
Ooh. I mean, I don't know because I don't really work with product brands. But from what I hear I think what works with product brands is like when you actually try to get other influencers involved, like sending them products and getting them to talk about it. I know that's really successful for a lot of product brands. For your own content, maybe, I mean, when I look at like certain product brands that I see, it's less about the product and it's more about the culture. Like if you look at like Supreme, for example, right? Like I don't know about now, I haven't seen their profile, seen their content in a while, but they're all about the skating culture, at least back then. So I'm sure like a lot of the content they talk about is probably about skaters or their story and things like that, and less about the product. So yeah, maybe that's one way to go. But yeah, I'll be honest, like I'm probably giving you wrong advice because that's not my area of expertise.
No, I think it's a good advice. I guess educational content would be one thing.
Yeah, is it an educational product? What kind of product is it?
No, it's not. No, it's a fashion accessories product.
Oh, fashion accessories. Yeah. So I mean, if I were you, I would probably think about like, who are your target audience? What are the type of people that buy this product? And then what is the content that they care about? Because I really think those kind of brands is all about the culture and more than the product itself.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Mihir, are you there?
Hey, can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you.
All right, sweet. First up, like really great session. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Really quick thing. Would you say the same concepts that you just discussed, right? Would they also apply to like performance ads?
Apply to where?
Performance ads, like when you're on ads on Instagram for like impressions, conversions, lead gen. Would the same concept apply over there?
I don't know because I don't have really experience with running ads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I wouldn't know that. Sorry.
Okay. Would you by chance know someone you could refer me over to?
Yeah, I know somebody who runs Facebook ads, so maybe I can get you in touch with her. Just send me a DM. Yeah.
Will do. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're out of time. So we have more questions, but I'm not going to be able to get on it. But just so you guys know, I am going to do another one of these in January. So there'll be more Q&As there. And I'm also launching my program in January. So I'll announce that as well. So keep your eyes open. I'll do it on my Instagram as well as via email. So thank you so much for coming. Have a great day, everyone. And see you guys on Instagram. Bye.